They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Cleveland and Seattle couldn't care less. This is the NFL, and these are still professionals. Even though everyone would have pegged the Panthers and the Broncos to start their seasons 1-0, with Wilson and Mayfield facing their former teams. Both underdogs teams having inferior QBs. None of it mattered. This is the NFL where it's any given Sunday. Welcome back, Wolf Gang. This is the Fantasy Fixers Podcast. I'm your host, Winston Wolf. This will be a week recap for week one. Go over a couple of games, waiver wire picks of the week. This is where fantasy is won. The draft is the foundation. The waiver wire is the catalyst. Let's start with the Monday night game. Seattle defeated the Broncos 17-16. Now, the Broncos should have won this game easily, but you can't fumble on the goal line twice. More than anything, I was impressed with Geno Smith's play. And for his offensive line to be ranked 32nd, they held up like the wall before the Night King showed up. Geno went 17 for 18, 164 and 2 touchdowns before half, and transformed back to Bruce Banner after halftime. He only completed 6 passes for 31 yards for the rest of the game. Rashad Penny owned this backfield and had quite a few big runs called back for holding penalties. I told y'all volume is king. I don't care about the offensive line if the running back is getting all the touches. Now, Penny didn't have a big game, but it was encouraging for him to get all of the carries, all but one. So he was going to be a solid flex or RB2 as long as Kenneth Walker stays sidelined. None of these pass catchers in Seattle will be trusted, DK or Lockett. Metcalf got you 10 PPR points. He's going to be a flex at best, but you're going to start him with a lot of anxiety. Russell Wilson had a solid day, but the box score could have been a lot better if he secured at least one more touchdown to make it 2. But 340 yards through there isn't anything to scoff at. How crazy is it that he was on the opposing end of the 12th man and they were loud? Javonte Williams was solid in his showing, but he was targeted 12 times out of the backfield, securing 11 for 65. Now, I can't admit I didn't like seeing Melvin Gordon out carry him, but if Williams is getting all of the catches out of the backfield, then he's a weekly RB2 every week. Both receivers did what we expected. Judy scored on a perfect 67-yard bomb. Albert O secured 8 PPR points, which it's a lot amongst tight ends this week. I had 0 in quite a few leagues between Cole Kmet and Irv Smith Jr. A lot of tight ends disappointed this week. Cortland Sutton had a nice game. Russell wasn't afraid to launch it to him. He just so happened to be guarded by a corner that runs a 4.2 40 during the game. Cortland Sutton is going to have some huge games as long as Russell Wilson is willing to let him go get it. The Eagles beat the Lions 38-35. Jalen Hurts 18 for 32, 243, no passing touchdowns, but did add 90 yards on the ground with a rushing TD. Seemed like we've been waiting years for Miles Sanders to score a TD, and he did. He finally put up the game that you should running behind the best O-line in football. Sanders was great, especially as your 9th round pick, now that I think about it. He came away with 13 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, oh man, he looked marvelous. Caught 10 of 13 targets for a whopping 155 yards. He's going to obliterate teams by being a focal point. Just think, A.J. Brown was a top 10 wide receiver on one of the most run-happy offenses in the league, where he hardly ever seen like double-digit targets. I'm really going to have to go back and see like how often did he see double-digit targets. If I had to guess, maybe 2 or 3 times out of the entire season. When it comes to the Lions, Jamal Williams is going to be very annoying for all DeAndre Swift fantasy owners. Swift is going to have to score from the 40-yard line because Jamal owns the red zone role. Came away with 2 goal line TDs. Swift ran for 144, 3 grabs for 31 with a score. But imagine if he didn't have to share the carries with Jamal Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown, starting where he left off last season, leading the team in targets with 12 and coming away with 8 grabs, 64 yards, and a TD. DJ Chark played 56 of the 62 snaps, second in targets, and should be owned in very deep formats. The Dolphins defeated the Patriots 20-7. This was an ugly game for the Pats, and it's indicative of what we all thought. Matt Patricia shouldn't be calling plays. I get it. Bill loves Matt and he should. But if we've all been in this situation where you're on the job and it's one guy who doesn't have the credentials to work here, and you find out the owner is dating his mom, and that someone is Matt Patricia. When it comes to the Pats backfield, I didn't take my own advice. When 3 running backs are in, nobody wins. Bill Belichick was up to his old tricks, and I fell for it. Because he wouldn't stop talking about Ramondre Stevenson. He talked about him so much that his goal had to either be to confuse us because he hates our fantasy teams, or Stevenson has a hot mom that Bill was trying to pursue. Those are the only 2 options. Harris and Stevenson, they split the first down work, but Ty Montgomery played 8 of 9 snaps on 3rd down. And he played 5 snaps on passing situations. I'm out on this backfield, and none of the receivers are startable. Good luck, you guys. All right, Miami on deck. Tua looked good in his debut. I think it's enough passes to go around for Tyreek and Waddle. Waddle has the best celebration right now. You gotta love watching the entire stadium do his dance when he reaches pay dirt. Mike McDaniel was offensive coordinator for the 49ers last year, so he's going to find ways to get the ball in his guys' hands the same way he did with Debo last season. Tyreek went 8 for 94 and Waddle 4 for 69 while getting to do his TD celebration after a 42-yard scamper. The Dolphins didn't run the ball effectively, but that's why you chose Chase Edmonds ahead of Raheem Mostert. You want the guy that's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. The Ravens won 24-9 against the Jets. Lamar only had 17 rushing yards. Rather alarming, I would say so myself. Not sure if he's preserving his health or what. His box score was okay, 213, 3 touchdowns. Nobody in this backfield can be played until J.K. Dobbins gets back. Bateman also had a disastrous game. If it wasn't for a 55-yard touchdown, he ended the game with 59 yards. Buy low on Mark Andrews. He went 5 for 52 on 7 targets. That's going to change abruptly. Duvernay had the better game, but I still think Andrews, he returns back to form next week. As for the Jets, not much to see here. Michael Carter with 10 carries and Brees with 6. The only thing that was notable was the catches that were generated from the backfield. Michael Carter with 7 catches, Brees Hall with 6. Pittsburgh, black Air Force One wearing Steelers beat the Bengals 23-20. This was the game that nobody wanted to win. Burrow had a rough start by his first pass being a pick 6 to Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he ended the game with 5 turnovers. But he eventually came around and redeemed himself where he threw the game-winning TD to Chase. But head coach Zach Taylor failed to challenge it when it was just as clear as Cinderella slippers. Jamar Chase is the future, and you have to feel silly if you passed up on him in drafts. I'm not sure who's more fun to watch out of him, Jefferson, and Kupp right now. Chase had 129 yards and a touchdown, and it should have been 2. Mixon had a decent game with 82 on the ground, 7 grabs through the air. But I wonder if this was just a result of them losing their number 2 pass catcher in T. Higgins, who left the game with a concussion. No word on if he'll be able to play this week. What's a season without Atlanta putting out a choke job? The score was 26-10 in the 4th, and it was over. Winston closed out the game going 13 for 16, 212 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Jameis started the game going 10 for 18 for 56 yards for 3 quarters. And I was already creating the Wolverine meme with Sean Payton in the picture frame. Michael Thomas was on a snap count, but that didn't matter when he got 2 beautiful back shoulder TDs that looked very nice on my bench. Thomas played 37 of 61 snaps but made the most of his time. Landry led all receivers in snaps and should be owned. 7 catches for 114 yards. Just think about it. Landry was a 100-catch-a-season guy before going to Cleveland and being with the QB. That's a wide receiver killer. Kamara, oh Kamara, where art thou? He gave you 6 PPR points. I'm uncertain if this was just because of bad gameplay by the Saints for 3 periods, or is this just what we should kind of expect considering he's not with Breeze anymore? You have to start him next week. And I'm not hitting the panic button, but my finger is getting towards it. Mariota didn't come away with a passing TD, but I was impressed in his gameplay. 215 through the air and adding 72 on the ground with a rushing TD. Cordarrelle Statterson stole the show. He was a one-man wrecking crew, putting up 120 on the ground and adding 3 grabs. Kyle Pitts was a no-show, and hopefully he turns it around like the hokey pokey. The Vikings, 23, Green Bay 7. Did the Packers not have any game tape on Justin Jefferson? The last time I seen somebody this wide open, it started off with a loud infomercial to start the video. Do you want to date some hot girls in your neighborhood tonight? Why is that so loud? Sheesh. With that kind of volume, you would think it was all passes, but Dalvin Cook still had 90 yards off of 20 carries. I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers look this lost since he got caught stretching the truth about his vaccination. You know how that puppy misses you every day when you come home from work? That's Aaron Rodgers missing his number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams. Christian Watson did drop a 75-yard TD that would have forced him to be the top waiver wire option this week. Coach LaFleur wasn't lying about A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones being 1A and 1A. They split the carries, and even though Aaron Jones ran 29 routes to A.J. Dillon's 16, Dillon still had more rushing yards and receptions. Dare I say it, this can be an ugly season for the Packers. I got $27 says Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a press conference telling everyone to RELAX. Relax. That won't happen. The Chiefs beat the brakes off the Cardinals. I think Pat might feel a little disrespected by so much talk about Tyreek leaving. Tua being the most accurate QB in the NFL. No Tyreek, no problem. Pat didn't skip a beat. Now he understands that the 80-yard bomb isn't in his wheelhouse anymore, but everything underneath is. Kelsey was Kelsey, 8 for 21 and a touchdown. But all summer, the beat writer said Juju was the alpha receiver. And it seems that way, as he went for 6 for 79. It was good to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire have a good game. I can't lie. I don't own him. And he was on my hate list because I thought this would be a sure 3-headed backfield. CEH did his damage through the air, which I think suits him better as a running back. Isaiah Pacheco did outcarry him, but that was garbage time. Do not chase this. Cardinals, nothing to talk about here other than some guy named Chris Dortch. No, I don't know him either, but he ran 59 of the 65 snaps. He played exclusively in the slot, and this is the same slot position that got Christian Kirk $72 million. And Kirk averaged 13.8 points after Hopkins got injured, and he demanded like a 21 target share. Now, if Rondale Moore is back healthy next week, then it's finito for Dortch. But I think this is a testament that Rondale Moore should be rostered in your IR spot if he's on the waiver. Go and get him. Speaking of waivers, let's get right to it. QB ads of the week. This feels extremely gross. But Carson Wentz. He just had so many weapons. Terry McLaurin, healthy Curtis Samuels, Jahan Dotson, who plays with Gorilla Glue on his gloves, and a converted wide receiver to running back in Antonio Gibson. Wentz is 16% owned and put up 313 for 4 touchdowns. And he faces the Lions next week. What is this, 2018? Can't believe I'm mentioning these two quarterbacks in the same breath. But Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons, 9% owned. He had a solid performance in his debut with his new team. 19 fantasy points, added 72 rushing yards, and a TD on the ground. And I think he only gets better if he gains some kind of rapport between him and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a matchup nightmare for anyone, especially a linebacker. The running backs ad for the week, coming in at number 1 is Jeff Wilson of the San Francisco 49ers. Some think one of the two rookies will outproduce. My name is Jeff, but I'm not buying it. Jeff Wilson will become the leader of this backfield and is 18% owned. I love Elijah Mitchell. He runs like every year is his last. Seems like the San Francisco 49ers, their running backs are just cursed. McKinnon, Mostert, Breida. When will it end? But like every year under Kyle Shanahan, next man up at running back, And that man's name is Jeff Wilson, who he has dealt with his own injuries himself, but he has to be the first running back to add, being the lead dog in a very run-happy backfield. Number 2 running back to add. Man, this is starting to become a nasty list. Rex Burkhead of the Houston Texans. He logged 19 touches and 8 targets. He's not even the starting running back. We were all wrong about Dameon Pierce. A zebra doesn't change its stripes. And this who Lovie Smith really is. He's just not going to hand the reins to some wet behind the ears rookie. He's going to roll 42-year-old sexy Rexy Burkhead to lead the backfield. Burkhead is 13% owned and dominated the touches. If you're a Pierce owner, you have no choice but to pick him up. The number 3 running back to add is Jamal Williams of the Detroit Lions. The Lions like this guy. He's going to be the running back that does a little work for the group project, but gets the same A as the rest of the group. He's going to be a thorn for all you Swift owners. He's 14% owned and is a solid flex play that has the goal line for work for one of the best offensive lines in the game. Swift did all the heavy lifting just for Williams to swoop in to do the TD celebrations. The honorable mention for this list is Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you are a Najee Harris owner, this is a must-add guy. I can't stress that enough. Now, the X-rays came back negative for Najee, but if he misses a week, you want to own this guy. From Tomlin's history, he doesn't like a committee backfield. He wants running back that can do it all. And Warren's that guy. When he Lev Bell, James Conner, D'Angelo Williams, Najee Harris, all 3 down backs. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. The number 1 wide receiver to add is Jarvis Landry. He's back home. He hit the century mark in his first game as a Saint, securing 114 yards. He's 46% owned. I know he's 29 years old, but he's still the guy that had 200 catch seasons in 2 of his first 3 seasons. He's going to kill your third cornerback, and Winston seems to trust him so far. Thomas is playing half the snaps. I think he's the number 1 receiver to add. Coming in at number 2, Curtis Samuel of the Washington Commanders. He's 4% owned, and he finally looks healthy. He seemed to be Wentz's favorite target right now. He leads the team in targets with 11. Volume is king, and he had 4 carries, so they want him to be a part of the game plan. The number 3 wide receiver is more of a stash and see rather than just an ad, but it's Devin Duvernay of the Baltimore Ravens. He's 32% owned, which is very surprising. The only thing you've always heard about him is how fast he is. He ran a 4.3 40 in 2020 and was drafted in the 3rd round. Is it his time to shine? Bateman had 37 snaps and Duvernay had 29, so he's clearly the wide receiver too, but I need to see him get busy for another week before I insert him into my lineup. I don't know if this is an offense that can sustain 3 receiving options in Bateman, Andrews, and Duvernay, because it's only so long before Andrews is back to being 100 yards a game type of tight end. The number 4 wide receiver is Rondale Moore / Greg Dortch of the Arizona Cardinals. If Rondale Moore is still inactive, then he should not be on waivers and should be in your IR spot. Now, if Rondale does miss another week, I don't mind starting Greg Dortch in a deep league as a flex. Yeah, it's risky, but this is the Christian Kirk spot. The 3rd-year Wake Forest product led the Cardinals in targets, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Greg had 9 grabs on 9 targets. I think the slot of the Cardinals is the most valued position amongst their receiving core, and Rondale is only 25% owned. If he's on your waiver wire, plug him into your IR spot. If your commissioner hasn't inserted an IR spot, what is he doing? Get him to do it. It's probably too late, but try. Tight ends to add. Before I have to talk about tight ends, I have to talk about Cole Kmet, who put up a goose egg on the week. Now, I knew it would be awful when you see guys sweeping off water on the field. I would like to chalk this up as a bad weather game from the torrential downpour in Chi-Town, but I'm on a 6 for panic mode. Not sure if this was just the weather or this is going to be the Justin Fields experience. The number one tight end to add is Gerald Everett of the LA Chargers, 13% owned. With Keenan Allen out, Herbert would look for Everett in the middle of the field. It was concerning to see all three tight ends get targeted, though, I can't lie. I'm just hoping Gerald leads the pack in the absence of Keenan Allen. He put up 3 for 54 and 1, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I promise you would have killed to have those stats if you started Cole Kmet this week. The number 2 tight end to add is Hayden Hurst of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's 19% owned. Maybe he had a good stat line because of an injury to T. Higgins with the concussion, but he came away with 8 targets and 5 grabs. Jamar Chase can't catch every target. It looks like it, but he can't catch all of them. Eventually, teams are going to triple team Chase. But Hurst played 75 of the 100 snaps and ran routes on 52 of those, so he's not doing a lot of blocking. The number 1 defense to add is the Cincinnati Bengals. They played Dallas. I don't need to give you any metrics or stats for that. Week 2 waiver ads in the books. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Good luck in your week 2 matchups. I'll be back here for week 2. Waiver wire ads. Winston Wolf out.